When I woke up in the middle of the night, I found that the door of my house had opened at some point. I was so worried, but I still walked over. I saw my boyfriend, who should be sleeping next to me, was standing in the corridor with his back to me. The light was dim, but I could see clearly the furry thing at his feet. It was the orange potato I had raised for 5 years. My mind was blank for a moment. At that moment, the phone screen in my hand suddenly lit up. A friend from the community group jumped out. "Run, your boyfriend wants to kill you." I remember that day was Saturday. I woke up in the middle of the night. I was wearing a blanket, but I still felt cold. I wanted to move to the side to get close to my boyfriend, but I found that the other side of the bed was empty. Chenmo was not there. I looked at my phone. It was 1 a.m. It was the middle of the night. Where could Chenmo go? I sat up with a heavy body. Chenmo, where did you go? No one answered. The bedroom door was open. The room was cold. It was pitch black outside. It was so dark that I felt dizzy. I used my head to get out of bed. I stepped on the floor. The cold air went straight into my bones. The colder I walked into the living room, when I got to the door, I realized that it was not the bed that was open, but the door in the house was open. The cold wind was blowing in. I was standing still. My first reaction was that someone had come into the house. He was even hiding in a dark corner and trying to kill me. The next second, a strong smell of acid entered the wall. I felt a strong sense of evil in my heart. I took a step towards the door. The bedroom door behind me was slammed shut by the wind. The sound was echoing. The light of the light bulb was on. The pale light spread out and lit up everything in the front door. Everything in the corridor was lit up by the person who was supposed to sleep next to me. Chenmo. He was facing me, and my eyes were out of control. I slid down his back and froze to death at his feet. A group of familiar furry oranges lay on the cold concrete floor. Softly, there was no sound. It was a potato. I had raised orange fur for 5 years. Every day after work, I would welcome my furry child at the door. My brain was blank. I refused to deal with the cruel picture in front of me. At this moment, Chenmo suddenly turned to talk. "Why did you come out? Go back." I forced my cowardly fear to look up. I saw him holding one of his arms. He walked towards me in a daze. His arms were covered with blood. His face was pale. His clothes were also stained with a dark red. "Where did you go just now? And what happened to the potato?" However, Chenmo just shook his head and didn't explain anything. He almost pushed me in. "It's too dangerous. Go back first. I'll explain to you later." As soon as I entered the door, he immediately turned his back and closed the door. He was worried, and he dragged a heavy stone teapot and stood behind the door. After doing all this, he seemed to have run out of energy. He sat down on the wall. He sat down and breathed in a weak breath. I didn't know what was going on. I asked him, "What's going on? What happened?" He raised his head. There was still fear in his eyes. He opened his mouth. "Someone broke in just now." He continued to explain. He said that after the potato found that person, he wanted to kill the potato. He rushed up and fought with the butcher, but in the end, he couldn't save the potato. He was injured. He didn't eat. He stared at the other party and ran away. I felt cold in my heart. I was completely panicked. I never thought that in a legal society there would be such a terrible incident. I subconsciously took out my cell phone and wanted to call the police. I held my hand silently. No, wait a minute. That person is too familiar with the structure of our house. He ran away without hesitation. I suspect that he still has accomplices, or he's just an acquaintance. He lowered his voice. "When we don't know what the other party is up to, if we call the police now, it will only alert us. Why don't we wait a little longer? And it's midnight now. He has already run away. Even if we call the police, it's just causing trouble for the police." His analysis is correct, but I can't calm down at all. When I close my eyes, I can see the terrible death of the potato in the corridor. Who the hell is he? What's his purpose? Anyway, the wound on Chenmo's arm is still bleeding. I have to bandage it as soon as possible. I forced myself to fix the rope and turned around to find the gauze and the medicine box. The moment I touched the gauze with my fingertips, the phone in my pocket suddenly vibrated. I subconsciously took it out. The screen shone with a dazzling light. It showed a friend request from WeChat. The source of the request clearly marked the property management group of our community, and the backup message on the back of the message made me even more bloodied. "Run away. Your boyfriend wants to kill you." The news came in an inexplicable way. No beginning and no end. I can imagine the terrible incident tonight and the frozen corpse in front of the door. The coldness of my butt climbed along the spine. The gauze was torn. I pressed the same button with my thumb. Almost at the moment of becoming friends, a new message came out of the conversation. "Are you the female resident of building 1501 on the 4th floor? Run away. Your boyfriend wants to kill you." It's the same sentence again. I held back my trembling fingers and replied with a yes. The other party replied quickly. "The username is Kabe. I'm the resident of the building opposite you. I went to bed late tonight. I was going to open the window to get some air, but I didn't expect to see your boyfriend trying to kill you with a knife. Your cat was protecting you and wanted to bite him. That's why he dragged the cat out of the door. He found your house's door sign, and your boyfriend was at the door at that time. I didn't dare to show up, so I could only remind you from the group chat. Miss, run away. Your boyfriend is not right." The message was filled with one after another. The self-censorship room was full of the other party's eagerness. "But this is too outrageous. I've been with Chenmo for more than a year. We've always had a good relationship. We even quarreled rarely. He has no reason reason to kill me. Is there any other evidence? I could only reply like this. I tried to find flaws in this ridiculous accusation. This time, the other party took a few seconds to calm down. Then he sent a picture. The angle of the picture is obviously from the opposite building. It's facing the bedroom where I live. The picture is a bit blurry. There are a lot of flaws, but it can still be clearly identified. A tall figure is standing next to my bed. He holds a knife in his hand. Under the dim light of the knife, there is a cold and hard light, and he is bowing his head and staring at the sleeping figure on the bed. That's me. Even if the picture is rough, and even if there is a distance, I still recognized it at a glance. The man holding the knife is Chen Mo. He may have seen me for a long time and didn't respond. He sent another message. Your boyfriend is not right. You'd better not disturb him. If you're afraid, you can come to me. I'll send you to the police station. I stared at the screen. My fingertips were cold. I didn't know how to respond. A huge sense of absurdity and a deeper meaning were intertwined. Why? Why did Chen Mo kill me? Is there any misunderstanding? I don't want to believe it anyway. The man I used to love and get along with every day might want to kill my pervert. When did you send this picture? I shook my hand and sent it. I tried to catch the last straw. In the few seconds I was waiting for a reply, I heard Chen Mo scream in the living room. Have you found the medicine box? I just came back. I hurriedly took the medicine box and went out. I pretended to be calm. I didn't mention the sad existence on WeChat after all. I started to clean his wounds. The blood stain was thick. I wiped it carefully, but my heart sank a little. The wound on his arm was rolled up. There were obvious scratches on the edge. It was clearly an animal's scratch. It was definitely not the way he said he was cut by a knife. And when I called the police just now, he immediately stopped his intense reaction. Was he really lying to me? There was no pervert breaking in. He was the one who wanted to kill me. This thought made me panic. The movements in my hands slowed down unconsciously. What are you thinking? Chen Mo's voice suddenly came to my mind. My hands were shaking. I looked up and saw his straight eyes. I couldn't see the bottom of his eyes. I felt cold in my heart. I didn't think much. I avoided his sight subconsciously. My voice was a little dry. I was just a little scared. What are you afraid of? I was afraid. I was afraid that he would come again. I turned my head to the topic. But you'd better bandage it first. Otherwise, it's easy to be infected. He didn't say anything. Chen Mo let me continue to bandage it. After wiping the blood stain around, the traces of being bitten by the beast's teeth became more clear and dazzling. My heart was beating fast. I couldn't help but open my mouth to test it. Chen Mo, does your wound need to be vaccinated? He looked at me fiercely. His eyes were bright. What vaccine? The wound was cut by a knife. It wasn't bitten by a cat or a dog. Why do you need to be vaccinated? His face was gloomy. His eyes were staring at me like needles. What? Do you think I was bitten by a cat? You don't believe what I said. No, I quickly denied it. My back was sweating. I just asked casually. I was afraid that you would be hurt. I stood up. It was almost raining. I drank too much water at night. I went to the bathroom first. After saying this, I almost ran away. I rushed into the bathroom. I closed the door and locked it. The narrow and closed space finally gave me a chance to breathe. I leaned against the door and sat on the floor. I held my phone tightly. If he really wanted to kill me, what should I do? I don't know how long I was in the bathroom until there was a loud noise outside the door. What was he doing outside? My heart was pounding. I knew I couldn't hide here forever. Finally, I took a deep breath and walked out of the door. The scene in front of me made my blood almost solidify. I don't know where Chen Mo found a lot of heavy safety locks and reinforced chains. He was working hard to move furniture and put those cold metal equipment one by one on each window. He didn't go to the door. What was he doing? He didn't look back. He didn't stop moving his hands. Close the window. So when that person comes again, it won't be so easy to get in. Then why didn't you call the police directly? I told you. There is no evidence now. He ran away. The police can't catch him. Can't catch him? Or that person doesn't exist at all? This sentence stuck in my throat. I didn't dare to ask it in the end. I looked around. My heart was pounding. All the windows that can lead to the outside world were completely closed. Even the glass sliding door on the balcony was locked by huge safety locks. This is a 15-story building. If it's just to bother outsiders, is it necessary to do this? The intrusion tonight was obviously a sudden event, but these locks were obviously prepared by him. Is it really just a coincidence? At this time, Chen Mo finished the last step. He got up and walked towards me. You must be scared tonight. Go to sleep for a while. I'll protect you. My heart sank. Looking at his hands, my body shrunk backwards faster than my brain. His hands were half empty. I frowned immediately. What's wrong? I clenched my palms hard and tried to make the sound calm. Nothing. I just think we can't do it by ourselves. We can't lock ourselves at home all the time. But no matter what I say, Chen Mo just shook his head and said nothing. You can't call the police. My heart sank. Why can't I call the police? He sensed something was wrong with me. Are you suspecting me? I'm not good at hiding. I can only look down and avoid his sight. Unconsciously, I moved to the door. The key to the safety lock was in my hand just now. As long as he didn't find it, I could take more time to open the door and escape. My heart was beating fast. At this time, Chen Mo in front of me suddenly sighed. Wei, do you remember when we first got together? You told me one thing. I didn't make a sound and waited for him to continue. You told me that you always felt that someone was following you every day after work. That's true. Before I lived with Chen Mo, I lived alone. Now that I think about it, I still have a guilty conscience. It was strange at that time. Every time I got home from work, I always heard footsteps behind me. But when I turned around, there was nothing. I forgot to throw the garbage bag at the door. The next morning, it seemed that someone had moved it. Even the pajamas on the top floor were inexplicably missing. A more terrible time. I even found the arrangement of the bedroom table changed direction for no reason. I was so scared that I contacted the landlord. The landlord said both keys were in my hands. No one could enter my house except me, and the previous tenant was also a girl. I had never encountered this before. The rent was not refunded, and the cost of moving was extremely high. I could only install a camera at home, and according to the experience of living alone on the internet, I bought 2 pairs of men's slippers and put them at the door. After 2 months, I didn't encounter any more strange noises. Later, after being with my boyfriend, I told him about this. He sounded very worried. He was going to move my house for me. Even if I refused repeatedly, he still kept persuading me. Later, we had a stable relationship. In the future plan, we also saved money to buy a house. Then we moved together and left the rental house. It was too long. I almost forgot it. I didn't know what Chenmo meant when he mentioned it. I was afraid that you were afraid. I didn't want to say it. Chenmo's voice pulled me back to reality. But I think I have to tell you. I suspect that the person who came from outside is the same person who harassed you at that time. I hid in the corner of the room. I was secretly searching for the door lock, and my fingers stopped. Chenmo didn't notice anything strange about me. He just kept talking. When you told me those things, I felt uncomfortable. I searched for a long time. The girl who lived in that house before you also called the police and said that she was harassed for a long time. She hung up until one day she disappeared completely. I still can't figure it out. I was out of breath. I tried to get up from the bottom of my feet. I took the news to the landlord. He admitted that he had known about the case. He was afraid that the house couldn't be rented out, so he kept it a secret. Chenmo's voice was dry. The police suspected that the murderer was a psychopath and specifically chose to live alone. They followed me for a long time to enjoy their gradual fear. Then they started to kill me. So at that time, I tried my best to make you satisfied. My back was cold. I hugged you, but I had no evidence to prove that you were targeted. In that case, the police couldn't do anything. When I got here, I suddenly understood everything. No wonder his behavior was so abnormal recently. No wonder he didn't dare to sleep deeply at night. He even held a knife in his hand next to me. He has been protecting me in this way all the time. My heart was heavy with fear. Why didn't you tell me earlier? I was afraid that you were afraid. His voice was very light, and it's been so long. I thought I could protect you and not let you know about this. But tonight, his throat was moving. He was wearing a raincoat. I didn't know how he broke in. He had a key. He knew everything about our plan. It seemed that he had been preparing for a long time. I didn't know what he had done to Potato. Potato also came to bite me like crazy. I had no choice but to. I'm sorry, Yun. I lied to you. I was afraid that you would blame me. You had no choice. I saw him feeling guilty in front of me. He was upset. He did everything for me, but I doubted him. During the dinner, I suddenly remembered the neighbor named Kebe. It was such a coincidence that he sent a friend request. He said he lived in the opposite building. He saw my boyfriend killing a cat, and he said he wanted to save me. I couldn't stand it at all. For an ordinary person to see such a scene, the first reaction should be to call the police. How could he stop it in person? What's more, I've never said anything in the nightclub. I've never been caught, but he exposed my building number and license plate. How did he know? Unless he was the stalker back then. He never gave up. He even moved to the same community with me just to spy on me and find a chance to kill me. He added my WeChat to persuade me to escape. It wasn't to save me at all. It was to trick me into opening the door and let me fall into his trap. When I figured it out, I was cold all over. Fortunately, I didn't believe that he would open the door and escape. Grandpa. Chenmo suddenly opened his mouth and interrupted me. He seemed to be very afraid of me today. Did something happen? I didn't hesitate anymore and put down the key in my hand. I took out my phone and exchanged a chat with the neighbor and handed it to him. Look at this. Chenmo picked up his phone. He frowned and looked up. This photo wasn't taken today. I was stunned. I didn't understand what he meant. Chenmo handed me the phone. Look carefully at the electronic control of the corner of the photo. It shows Friday night. He rubbed his eyebrows to show his tiredness. So I didn't dare to sleep every Friday and stayed up all night. He was too tired today to sleep early. Today is Saturday. That is to say, Kebe didn't take this photo by accident. He peeked at us almost every night. He knew Chenmo's habit of staying up late. He waited until Friday and acted on Saturday night when Chenmo was most tired. My back was cold. What should we do now? Chenmo walked by the window and pulled the curtain tightly. Anyway, we can't go out tonight. It's safe at home. We have to wait until dawn to find a way. However, at this time, two clear and restrained knocking sounds. Chenmo was shocked and reacted quickly. He covered me behind and told me not to make any sound. He stared at the door and sighed. He turned on the monitor screen, but there was no one on the screen. At this time, my phone was vibrating again. It was Kebe who sent me a message. Chenmo looked at me cautiously. I hesitated for a while and unlocked the screen in front of him. The message came out one by one. Don't believe him. He didn't stalk you. You felt followed before. He did everything by himself. In order to scare you, he made you rely on him. In the end, you moved in with him. He controlled you completely. completely. He did the same to Lin Wei. Think about it carefully. Ever since you moved in with him, did anything strange happen to you? Wake up, come out. I'm at the door. Otherwise, he'll hurt you. Then, another photo came out. It was late at night. A man was lying on a door. He peeped through the door. Although the picture was rough, the short sleeve he was wearing was exactly the same as Chen Mo's. That door was the house I rented. At that time, I didn't know Chen Mo at all. Chen Mo stared at the photo and shrugged his eyes. It's fake. It's definitely fake. I bought this dress last week. My feet were out of control. I moved back half a step and pressed the voice receiver. Who are you? Where did the photo come from? Why should I believe you? Almost at the same time, a voice came out. I turned on the playback. A girl went straight into my ear. Who am I? You'll know when you open the door. That sentence was like a bomb. The blood on Chen Mo's face was so clear. It was even more shocking than when I saw the photo. He stepped back. He couldn't stand still. No, it's impossible. It's impossible. He rushed back to the door like a madman. His fingers trembled. On the screen, there was a girl's face. It looked familiar, but where did I see it? Chen Mo's reaction was even more intense. His face was as pale as paper. His pupils were enlarged due to extreme fear. He pointed at the screen. His lips were wrinkled, blood-stained. No, it's impossible. I saw him die with my own eyes. How could he still be alive? The sound stopped abruptly. The air was frozen. Chen Mo suddenly reacted and said something. His face was as pale as sand. I stepped back. His voice was hoarse. Chen Mo, the police reported that Lin Wen was missing. Why did you say he was dead? What do you mean you saw it with your own eyes? In the door, there was a cold electronic sound with a hint of noise. Chen Mo, the lemon tea I brought you was at the door. Do you remember? Who are you? Are you a human or a ghost? You said you would protect me forever. Chen Mo, what did you do? Chen Mo, why did you leave me there alone? Chen Mo, what happened? Where is he? Don't you remember? The small warehouse. I don't remember. I don't want him to leave me. If I control him, I can only leave him there. You finally admitted it. I stood up slowly. All the fear and panic on my face disappeared in an instant. Instead, it was a cold calm. Who the hell are you? I'm Lin Yue. My job is to study criminal psychology and behavior expression. You're very smart. We've almost searched everywhere, but we couldn't find my sister's body. So I can only let you tell me where she is. You lied to me on purpose. Don't move. Police. Let's get to know each other again. Lin Wei is my sister. What about Lin Wei outside the door? I'm here to get an answer for Lin Wei. I was helped by my colleagues to turn around and look out the window. The first ray of light has been released from the sky. Sister, I'll take you home this time. Lin Yu, this action is too risky. Although it was successful to make him identify Junior Cao, but to make Lin Xian, I took the initiative to apply for it. Captain, only to make him believe that he has found a perfect task to control again. He will take off his guard, reenact the crime, and show his weakness. But his family is my potato. After I came back from the hospital, my brother seemed to have changed. His eyes were empty, and he kept saying things that people couldn't understand. I've always been here. I can't tell. I really can't tell. After that, one day, he completely disappeared. Someone finally saw him on the street in the middle of the night. He was looking at the air in the corridor like crazy. It's like he's fighting with something he can't see. The monitor screen is very blurry, but I still recognized him at a glance. My brother was fumbling in the picture. His arms were waving like he was resisting something. Finally, he rushed into the alley and disappeared in the dark. Everyone said he was a lunatic, but I knew he wasn't. My parents died early, and my brother and I depended on each other. He dropped out of school at the age of 18 and finished college with me. In fact, he is only 4 years older than me. Half a year ago, he was diagnosed with depression and was hospitalized in a mental hospital. The doctor said it might be caused by long-term work pressure. No one expected that when he came back from there, he had changed completely. At first, I felt like he didn't recognize me. To be precise, he could recognize who I was. It's just that the way he looked at me made me feel very strange. Then he started to have insomnia all night. Or he suddenly woke up in the middle of the night and said some inexplicable words. We've been here all this time. I can't tell. I really can't tell. He even found a pen unconsciously and drew the same pattern over and over again. There was a strange flower pattern on the window of a large building. The moment he finished drawing, he suddenly woke up and crushed the paper like crazy. What made me most anxious was that the building he drew was the main building of the mental hospital. My brother must have experienced something there. I have to figure it out. With a forged resume, I was successfully appointed as an intern at this dying hospital. The hospital was colder than I imagined. It was even colder than I imagined. A smell of disinfectant could not be contained. It was as if I've been named. Using the identity of an intern as a cover, I finally found my brother's medical record in a corner of the file cabinet, and the core of it was a recorded treatment video. I clicked on the video. My brother's familiar but haggard figure appeared on the screen. He held his knees tightly. He was emotional, but he was trying to restrain himself. Doctor, I'm not sick anymore. I'm I'm infected. The world is real. What's the point of going back and forth? We have to hold on to the power of the mask to go back. Who else is there besides you? Obviously, there's that little girl. Dr. Wong seemed to have grasped the focus of my brother's painting and immediately asked back. And when my brother heard those two names, his body was so light that his pupils shrank in shock. How do you know their names? You can see it, can't you? The screen was darkened by the sound of the painting. The video was interrupted. It was scary to be quiet in the room. Only my heart was beating in my chest. Miss Bai, Sui Sui. My brother never mentioned these two names. I clenched my hands subconsciously. Judging from the video, these two people should have some kind of connection with my brother and Dr. Wong. Are these two people my brother's patients? When I got here, I didn't hesitate. Of course, the first thing I saw was a pile of yellow paper, until I found a lady named Bai and Sui Sui in the patients of my brother's same period. That's when I realized that I was right. According to the information on the medical records, I first found Miss Bai's ward. It was empty. It was quiet inside. When I pushed the door in, a mixture of disinfectant smell and cold wind came out. I was so nervous that I missed a row. It was scary to be quiet in the room. I could only hear my breathing getting heavier and heavier. It was like being drawn by something invisible. I slowly moved to the bathroom on the side. She was there. In front of the mirror full of water, she was sitting quietly. Her body maintained a balance that was almost inhuman. The mirror showed her pale face and the expression that I twisted because of the shock. I was so nervous that I couldn't speak. Miss Bai, she didn't look back. In the mirror, her eyes were staring at my face. She smiled and slowly moved to a corner. Are you here for your brother? I'm Li Zhang. How did she know? Your brother? His voice was very soft. It was like coming from another space. He is the most painful one among us, because he is more sober than us. He was torn apart by two worlds. He was hanging between his feet in the air and shaking slightly. If you can't find him, maybe he is ready to go back. Go back? Go back to where? I asked her, but she didn't answer. With deeper confusion, Wang Jilu found the ward of the girl named Li Sui. It was different from the haunted house in Miss Bai's house. It was a little popular here. A skinny girl was sitting in the corner of a large chair. There was a strange-shaped doll hanging on the floor. The doll's nails were crooked, but there was a pair of eyes that were almost full of her face. When she saw me, she looked up and cried. She said she didn't want you to worry, but this time she went back and cried for the rest of her life. The word of life and death pierced my heart. I bent down and wanted to continue asking. At this time, the doll in her arms suddenly moved. It was not an illusion. The doll's head turned slightly and shrieked like a scalded knife. She pushed me away and pointed to the door. On the third floor, there was the abandoned parking lot. Her voice cracked like a tear. It's too late if we don't go now. I rushed out of the ward and pressed the elevator button crazily. I couldn't help but think why I trusted a strange girl so easily. I just want to find my brother now. On the third floor, there was a dim light in the northwest corner. I rushed into the shadow. As expected, an old iron door was dim. The iron curtain was broken by violence, as if it had just been forced in. It's too late to think too much. I squeezed in my side body and swam like a tide. I could recognize her back. It was my brother. Brother! I yelled at him with a cry and tried to push him away, but he backed away and held his head. He looked at me and his eyes were broken. Tell me why they call me Li Wang. Who the hell is Li Wang? I was in a daze. Li Wang? I've never heard that name before. Who the hell am I? His voice was trembling. I held back my tears and tried to get close to him again. There's no time. His voice was trembling. The useless shout came out of nowhere, and everything around him began to turn upside down. Sister, do you think it's an illusion or the truth? If he becomes your enemy, the only way out is to be crazier than him. Every breath you take here may be a trap. Do you think you're the real you? Sister, if I can't come back, take care of yourself. Brother's last words still echoed in my ears. It's really scary, but there's no hospital in front of me. It's a deserted building. It's like my previous infiltration was an illusion. It turns out that their nonsense has never been crazy. Recently, the plants in the B&B have been withering, but the lilies at the entrance of 103 are growing like they're being pushed by something. I couldn't help but turn off the surveillance camera. I found that every night at dawn, the guests would talk to the lilies. I turned up the volume. I finally heard what he said. If I bury you, you can stay with me forever. I borrowed this B&B from my mother. She left suddenly, leaving only this old house and the flowers complaining about its weakness. But I don't know what's wrong with them recently. They're withering one by one. At first, I thought it was the weather. The root disease spread, but no matter how much I water it, it can't go back to the sky. Looking at those withering lilies, I feel like I'm falling into the bottom of the valley. But at the same time, something strange happened. The lilies at the entrance of 103 are growing like they're being pushed by something. It's so annoying. It's even full of walls. A man wearing glasses lives in 103. It's very quiet. When I moved in, he said he came to paint. He stayed there for a month. I couldn't help it. I stopped him when he went out. Sir, did you wet the green basket at the door? He slowly turned his head and saw the wall full of green baskets. It's very quiet. It's suitable for making friends. I stopped for a while. I couldn't answer him. I didn't expect that something even worse happened later. For several days, there were always guests complaining to the front desk. They all said the same thing. Every midnight, someone was talking in the yard. It was so loud that it sounded like a fly. It was so noisy that I couldn't sleep. I couldn't sit still on the homestay platform. I turned on the surveillance camera to find out. When the screen turned on, the coldness filled my ears. As expected, there was a man in the yard at midnight. Judging by his face and body shape, I could be sure that he was the man wearing glasses in 103. He stood in front of the green muros. My ears were close to the speaker. In the buzzing sound, his cold voice kept coming out. "If I bury you, you can stay with me forever." Suddenly, my scalp was numb. It was as if my back was itchy. I hit my back on the chair. I looked back at the previous night's video. Then I found out that he came almost every night. He was holding a strange green basket and repeated the words that made me feel cold. I forced myself to calm down and watch the video again, but the system reminded me that it was full. It only recorded the last 15 days. Until the next day, I was still in a daze. All I could think of was the strange scene. When I passed the door of 103, my feet stopped as if they were nailed. The door was actually virtual. Through the door, I saw him sitting in front of the drawing rack. The brush was lightly smeared on the canvas. There seemed to be a girl in the painting. There was only a blurry background. I knocked on the door panel. "Sir, do you need to clean the room?" No, he didn't look back. His tone was exactly the same as the last few times. But when I thought about the recent complaints that I received, I took a deep breath and pushed the door slowly in. "You seem to like the green basket at the door." I pretended to be curious and stared at his back. The brush suddenly stopped. The air was frozen for a moment before he lowered his voice. "He is very quiet and can keep secrets." Secrets? I was so curious. Then I took the opportunity to draw the painting to the real purpose. Speaking of silence, if you need to go to the yard at night to find inspiration, I don't know if it's possible to be as quiet as possible. After all, there are other guests resting. His eyes flinched as if he was in some kind of memory. But in the end, he didn't say anything. At this moment, my eyes were blinded by the things in the corner of the room. In the luggage compartment that the man opened, there was a short skirt of a girl. The blue and white meet, and the girl's back is like a fold. The clothes in the shirt are put together with a man's luggage. It's so awkward. Until the night, I sat in the room and didn't feel at ease. Until the monitor screen lit up again, the man appeared in the yard on time. But tonight, the situation was obviously wrong. He didn't talk to the green basket as usual. Instead, he stood still like a statue. Then, he did an action that made my blood flow back in an instant. He slowly bent down and buried his whole face into the dense leaf. He didn't move at all. I don't know how long later, he raised his head fiercely, and his face was empty without any expression. But he raised his hand and used his fingertips to gently touch the leaf again and again. I couldn't sit still anymore. There must be something wrong with this man. If he continues to do this homestay must go yellow. I stared at the monitor until I confirmed that the light in his room was completely extinguished. I picked up the small flower pots by the window and sneaked into the yard like a thief. I sat in front of the green basket. The soil below was unusually soft and wet. I carefully turned on the mobile phone light and gently turned the soil on the surface with a shovel. After a couple of steps, the shovel suddenly hit something in the soil. I threw away the shovel and my hands trembled to dig up the soil. A smiling ash was faintly visible in the wet mud. "What are you looking for?" A cold voice came from behind without warning. I turned around fiercely. I don't know when that man with glasses was standing behind me silently. The moonlight shone on his mirror, reflecting a pale light. I couldn't see his eyes clearly. I almost instinctively pushed Xiao Hui into my palm. The green basket was a little crooked. The man's voice didn't rise at all. He didn't like to be disturbed. I didn't dare to say a word. I got up in a hurry and ran back to my room in a hurry. Until my heart beat slowly, I opened the hand of the Chinese master. After Xiao Hui was wiped out, he showed his original appearance. He was heartless, without any show, and didn't seem to be buried for a long time, until I turned him over. Li Xiaoyun. The 3 engraved characters were clearly revealed. This should be a girl's name, but why is it buried here? Suddenly, I remembered the dress in his room, and the back of the same girl that he repeatedly sketched on the painting board. A disgusting idea emerged. This man may be a pervert who hides girls' things to satisfy his sick fantasy. Anyway, for the safety of all guests, I can't afford this matter. It's dawn. I must let him go. The next morning, I made up my mind to go to him. No matter what he said, I can't let him continue to live here. But as soon as I walked into the yard, my phone suddenly vibrated. The host group of the B&B sent out a notice. Attention, B&B owners. Li Xiaoyun, a 20-year-old girl, disappeared near the city more than 20 days ago. If you have any clues, please contact the police immediately. I was stunned. The blood all over my body seemed to solidify in an instant. Li Xiaoyun? I looked up and my eyes were on the soil that was dug up last night. In the soil, a dark red color was slowly coming out. Hello? I want to call the police.